Hyderabad is an ideal location for interaction between industry and academia.
Mahindra University. Global thinkers, engaged leaders. Spread over 130 acres in Hyderabad. A campus that's lush and green, always buzzing with ideas and innovation, with state-of-the-art research centers, 3D printing and prototyping laboratories. India's first university to drive digital transformation of higher education, powered by emerging technologies, enabled by innovation hubs. It's time to reimagine higher education, to educate future citizens for and of a better world.
The Mahindra Group has a significant presence in Hyderabad, especially after the acquisition of Satyam. Hyderabad also provides great infrastructure and a metropolitan lifestyle for faculty and students. Finally, with many of India's leading research laboratories and multinational corporations, Hyderabad is an ideal location for interaction between industry and academia.
Mahindra University. Global thinkers, engaged leaders. Spread over 130 acres in Hyderabad. A campus that's lush and green, always buzzing with ideas and innovation, with state-of-the-art research centers, 3D printing and prototyping laboratories. India's first university to drive digital transformation of higher education, powered by emerging technologies, enabled by innovation hubs. It's time to reimagine higher education, to educate future citizens for and of a better world.
The Mahindra Group has a significant presence in Hyderabad, especially after the acquisition of Satyam. Hyderabad also provides great infrastructure and a metropolitan lifestyle for faculty and students. Finally, with many of India's leading research laboratories and multinational corporations, Hyderabad is an ideal location for interaction between industry and academia.
Mahindra University. Global thinkers, engaged leaders. Spread over 130 acres in Hyderabad. A campus that's lush and green, always buzzing with ideas and innovation, with state-of-the-art research centers, 3D printing and prototyping laboratories. India's first university to drive digital transformation of higher education, powered by emerging technologies, enabled by innovation hubs. It's time to reimagine higher education, to educate future citizens for and of a better world.
The Mahindra Group has a significant presence in Hyderabad, especially after the acquisition of Satyam. Hyderabad also provides great infrastructure and a metropolitan lifestyle for faculty and students. Finally, with many of India's leading research laboratories and multinational corporations, Hyderabad is an ideal location for interaction between industry and academia.
Mahindra University. Global thinkers, engaged leaders. Spread over 130 acres in Hyderabad. A campus that's lush and green, always buzzing with ideas and innovation, with state-of-the-art research centers, 3D printing and prototyping laboratories. India's first university to drive digital transformation of higher education, powered by emerging technologies, enabled by innovation hubs. It's time to reimagine higher education, to educate future citizens for and of a better world.
The Mahindra Group has a significant presence in Hyderabad, especially after
Good afternoon, Rishikesh.
Hi.
Good evening, Dr. Rishikesh. Welcome to the event.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, Linda. Hi, Cindy. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I wasn't sure if we were supposed to unmute or not.
Well, and now you can mute yourself. Now that we have.
Okay.
I think we can start.
Yes, sir, you can start. Just
All right.
confirm all your panelists are in place and
Hey, first check CP and Andrew are on or not. Okay. Go on.
And Andrew, I don't know if he's...
He'll come. He'll come, they said. It might be 1 or 2 minutes this way, that way.
Yeah, CP has joined.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, good evening and welcome to all of you. Firstly, let me thank all the participants here for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend this event. I am Dr. Pradeep Racharla, Professor of Marketing at Mahindra University School of Management. It's a fantastic feeling that a project that we have all been working upon for quite some time has come to fruition. So here we are, celebrating our Ivy League partner, the Cornell S.C. Johnson College of Business. But this event is not just a celebration. We want it to be a serious discussion. It is a discussion that involves our most important external stakeholders: students, parents, educators, and advisors. And we hope to hear from you a lot. Today's discussion and your questions and feedback will define the contours of our future work with Cornell. Because we just have one single motivation: how to make management education worthwhile for our students. An education that makes them a productive and responsible global citizens. Nikita, your thoughts?
Thank you, Pradeep. Hi, very good morning to everyone from New York, from all of us. So my name is Nikita Sarkar, and I am Director of External Relations at Cornell S.C. Johnson College of Business at Cornell University. So it's great to be here today. And on behalf of our College of Business, I take tremendous pride and pleasure to welcome each and every one of you as we share details of a unique Mahindra and Cornell strategic collaboration to launch this innovative school of management. It's, as Pradeep said, it's been a very exciting undertaking. As an international team of experts have come together with a bold vision of bringing this Ivy League brainpower to create a world-class education center in one of the fastest growing countries in the world. So again, thanks to everyone for joining today, and special thanks to all of you Mahindra esteemed colleagues for creating this platform. My Cornell colleagues, whom you'll be meeting shortly, during the course of this event, are greatly looking forward to an informative session and making this a very interactive discussion, because your questions and your queries are most important to us. So thank you.
Thanks, Nikita. We have a brief agenda today for about 1 hour. First, our esteemed guests, Mr. C.P. Gurnani and Dr. Andrew Carolli, will deliver their opening remarks and formalize the occasion. That will be followed by a quick discussion on how we have worked to lay the groundwork and the foundation for this collaboration. This discussion involves Dr. Rama Velamuri, the Dean of School of Management, and the Cornell team. Our main event is a panel discussion on the future of business education. We hope that our attendees, that is you, will ask a lot of insightful questions and make the discussion lively and informative. But before we step in that direction, I would like to invite the person without whom none of this would have been possible. Our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Yaj Meduri. Dr. Yaj, over to you.
Good evening, and thanks, Pradeep and Nikita. Thank you very, very much. As Martin Luther King Jr. so succinctly put it, the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. And as we unveil the collaborative relationship of Mahindra University and Cornell SC Johnson College of Business, today in front of our friends, mentors, and well-wishers, I'd like to reiterate that this is what we aim to achieve. An education that imparts skills, teaches thinking, and helps build character so that each student can positively contribute to society and the world at large. What began in 2014 as a College of Engineering, an institution striving to make a qualitative difference in the way technical education is imparted to students in India, has today culminated in the School of Management linking up with academic partner, Cornell SC Johnson College of Business, to offer courses focused on making our students become global practitioners and to engage them through discussions and collaborative thinking and away from bookish knowledge and rote methodology. What will make our relationship stand out? We shall focus on specific elements transversal to all, such as creating an entrepreneurial mindset, EI and leadership, communication, creativity, critical thinking, digital humanities, as well as enabling artificial intelligence through data science and inference in all students at MU School of Management through a well thought out and curated curriculum in consultation with Cornell. We have planned for cutting edge interdisciplinary majors with the sole focus being that programs on offer shall be interdisciplinary and contemporary, as well as those with specific synergies. One of our founding principles is a strong focus on quality research. We will promote research at an institutional level so that we can focus on actual problem solving and contribute to the rise of a new India. Our unwavering commitment to quality research has made us allocate sizable resources to this activity. Mahatma Gandhi said, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world." And we at Mahindra University will endeavor to bring about the change through critical thinking, focus on innovation, and opening up of our students' horizons. Here's to a new beginning and a new era in management education. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yaj. Thank you so much. I'm excited to invite our next speaker, Mr. CP Gurnani. To introduce him is both easy and hard, depending on one's perspective. In one sentence, he is the CEO and the managing director of Tech Mahindra, the man who has made the company a $5 billion company that is it today. He is also a member of Mahindra University's Board of Management and instrumental in conceptualizing and establishing Mahindra University and Mahindra École Centrale Engineering College. Mr. Gurnani has won many awards for his leadership. A gold medal at the CEO World Awards 2018 and Business Today Best CEO Award in 2019. Along with his wife, he runs a foundation named Titliya for underprivileged children in Noida. Mr. Gurnani, we are glad that you're here. Request you to share your thoughts on the event today.
Again, thank you so much, Pradeep and Nikita, for the opening. Wonderful remarks by Dr. Yaj Madhuri. You know, it's very rare in one's lifetime that one gets a chance to work with two legacies. 156 years of Cornell legacy and 75 years of Mahindra legacy. And I still remember the conversations that I had with now the Dean of our Mahindra School of Business, Professor Ram Velmuri, trying to attract him. And I thought I was going to do a tougher job of trying to attract Ram from Shanghai to Hyderabad. It turned out that Ram was all set. It was us who had to give him an opportunity. And to him, the first few sentences they uttered are still etched in my mind. The first few sentences was that his focus would be to create global citizens. Now, who else but Cornell as a partner? Who else? Who were the pioneers to bring women into the forefront of management? Who else than Cornell, which has continuously adopted? So, Ram, you may have forgotten how you convinced me or how you floored me, but I'm just reminding you that Mahindra School of Business actual business plan got written by your 3 or 4 sentences. One was to create global citizens. Number 2, he said everybody that I've interacted with is actually an engineer at heart. Mahindras are engineers at heart. Tech Mahindra is an engineering company. Dr. Yaj Madhuri is an engineer at heart, and he wants the future technology leaders or the future leaders from Mahindra School of Business to be good with AI, data sciences, and technology, because for any other school, they would have to try and imbibe technology into the culture, into the blood, into the overall ethos of the organization. Here he said his job is to make sure that technology, management, the right side of the brain and the left side of the brain work together to create future global citizens. I think again, Ram, a beautiful thought, and I'm happy that Dr. Yaj Madhuri's opening remarks take into account your focus on AI and data sciences. The third part, which convinced me even more, was when he said, when he looks at the future landscape of the job creation, he is convinced that many of the jobs would be created which do not exist today. Many of the jobs will actually get defined as we go along. And many of those jobs will be on solo entrepreneurship, would be on entrepreneurship, or maybe because the managers are at work, are fast defining how you reorient yourself to the pace of technology, to the pace of the demands of the market, the pace in which your customer and customer interact with you. I think it's one of those uh, you know occasions where all of us put together, while we as Mahindras would be able to imbibe some of our rich culture, rich philosophy, Cornell would be able to imbibe their legacy and, more importantly, their research, their development. But I think Professor Yaj Madhuri are lucky. We are lucky that we have Professor Yaj Madhuri and Ram, and all of us working together should create an institution which will deliver on the 3 promises that Ram enunciated. And I personally am obliged to Cornell for choosing us as their partner for their outreach, for their globalization drive, because together we will create an institute. And many cases, like every parent, we would pray that the child is smarter than the father, or the child is smarter than the parents. So over to you. Professor Madhuri and Yaj. And again, thank you everyone who has joined in from Cornell. I know, while Nikita has been the face, but there are a lot of us, a lot of you who have worked together to bring this dream come true. So again, thank you everybody. And I look forward to reminding Ram, like I reminded today, about his passion, his drive, and his dreams. And hopefully my job will only to be the cheerleader. A bad looking cheerleader, but I'd love to be the cheerleader. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gurnani. Nikita, would you like to do the honors of inviting Dr. Andrew?
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for those inspiring words, Mr. Gurnani. So our sentiments are similarly aligned, and it's my honor now to introduce our Dean, Dr. Andrew Carolli, who's the Dean of the Cornell S.C. Johnson College of Business. He's a professor of finance and holder of the Harold Bierman Jr. Distinguished Professorship in Management. In interest of time, we don't need to get into his illustrious bio, but suffice to say that Andrew is a prolific scholar, researcher, academic, and sought-after expert. His research career has focused largely on the economic consequences of global finance. Andrew was also instrumental in launching the Emerging Markets Institute at Cornell. He is not only an award-winning professor, but a respected and inspiring leader at the helm of our growing and evolving College of Business. So over to you, Andrew, for your remarks, please.
Thank you very much, Nikita. Good morning to everyone and good evening to everybody in Hyderabad and all over India. It's such a pleasure to be with you this morning. I'm so inspired by the words of Mr. Gurnani and Dr. Madhuri. I thought they were just terrific and just so affirming of the partnership that we're building. I'm here to tell you a little bit about the legacy of Cornell, the legacy of our College of Business, and why this partnership is so well aligned. But before I do, I would also like to give a special recognition to the colleagues on the Cornell team, if I may, and thank them before all of you for all the hard work they've done in building up this program with Mahindra University and the Business School. Nikita Sarkar, thank you for those kind words. She's been instrumental in all of this. The Associate Dean for External Relations, Linda Barrington, our colleague in external education, Devin Biganis, and most especially Professor Van Ness, Cindy Van Ness, who's going to lead the charge on our side. And I'm really, really proud of this team. And this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful partnership. Dr. Madhuri, as well as Mr. Gurnani, reflected on the fact that Cornell has a very, very proud legacy as an Ivy League institution with this land grant overarching mission that has its implications go so far beyond what those words say. They mean that we have in our very soul and our very DNA as a university, this idea that we are here in support of, for the advancement of society in general. And by our very nature, going all the way back to our founding, it was always thinking about the world. It was a global mindset that is so naturally ingrained. And so this activity that we're engaged in is so natural for us at Cornell. As was mentioned, you know that women were one of the first, were allowed to enroll at Cornell University very early on among certainly the Ivy Leagues and many universities. Our founder, Ezra Cornell, of course, was famously coining the words as the origins of the university of any person, any study. Our College of Business, Cornell S.C. Johnson College of Business, and our mission, vision, and values are so highly tied to that origin story of Cornell University. As you know, we have 3 schools that comprise our College of Business: the Dyson School for Applied Economics and Management, the Johnson Graduate School of Management, and the Hotel School, the School of Hotel Administration. And we have ranges of programs both at the undergraduate and postgraduate level. Our mission, vision, and value statement are oriented around these beautiful words, which is that we are developing the future business leaders who think who are principled and who think responsibly about a sustainable and shared prosperity. It's principled leaders, responsible, shared prosperities. We've been living this mission for many, many years. I was reflecting on the vision statement for Mahindra University and its School of Management, which is to build a leading business school in India, developing ethical, innovative, entrepreneurial, technologically astute, culturally aware, and socially conscious managers, leaders, and scholars. Those words are so beautifully aligned with our own mission, vision, and value statement. So that, to me, is a very, very good start towards cementing a partnership between the two institutions. We also talk a lot about the importance of developing future business leaders who are agile. And I loved hearing Mr. Gurnani's words talking about the engineering mindset at the origins of Mahindra University and the School of Business, School of Management, excuse me. And we are also very much geared towards developing agile leaders who think about leveraging the power of technology towards distillation of big data, towards creating new new business ventures in this age today. It's very much part of our fabric as well. The entrepreneurship mindset, for certain. And as you've already heard me talk about, the global mindset is very much part of our orientation, organically part of what we represent, what we are. So I just want to say thank you, mostly thank you for this opportunity for us to get to work together, and I see wonderful days ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Andrew. We look forward to working with you and your team. Collaborations start at the top many times. But as they say, the devil is in the detail. In our case, though, it was incredibly easy to tame the devil because we got to work with a fantastic team at Cornell. There were so many weekly meetings, so many emails, so many documents to share, so much to discuss, but none of those were ever a chore because of this team. I would like to use 3 words to describe this team: patient, professional, and more importantly, happy. First, in this segment, which is laying the foundation for this collaboration, I would like to request Dr. Rama Velamuri, our Dean of School of Management, to share his perspective, and then I will invite every member of the Cornell team to share their thoughts as well. Dr. Rama, over to you.
Thank you very much, Pradeep and Nikita, for the introductions. And good evening, and thank you all for your interest in the School of Management of Mahindra University. After the remarks by Professor Meduri, Mr. Gurnani, and Professor Carolli, I'm delighted to share with you the work that we are doing to lay the foundation, to lay a solid foundation for the School of Management. Let me say that some of the pillars of this foundation already exist, and let me list them one by one. The first is the backing of the Mahindra Group, which is one of the most reputed corporate houses in India, and our organic connection with Tech Mahindra, which actually serves the leading corporations of the world with cutting-edge technology solutions. So if we want to marry business and technology, having this organic connection with Tech Mahindra and the Mahindra Group is a boon that very few schools of management have. The second is the 7-year track record of our sister school, the École Centrale School of Engineering, which is already known in India as one of the best private engineering schools. Third, we have a beautiful 100+ acre campus in Hyderabad, which is one of the most important technology and education hubs in India and one of the best Indian cities to live in. So in addition to these 3 pillars that were already in place, what have we been doing over the last few months? Well, one very important pillar, as you've heard already, is this collaboration with the Cornell University's S.C. Johnson College of Business, with which Professor Yaj Meduri was leading even before I joined the School of Management. And I have been an enthusiastic participant in the discussions since I joined. This relationship is very deep and it is multifaceted. And the Cornell team will provide you with more details in just a few minutes. We have already hired 12 faculty members, of whom 4 have already joined, and the rest will join us between June and August. Our faculty have PhDs from the best universities, best research universities in the US and India, such as the Indian Institutes of Management. We are developing, in partnership with Cornell, academically rigorous and industry-aligned curricula for the 3 degrees that we have launched in 2021. We've been working very closely with the Cornell team on these curricula, which are almost finalized, and we'll now move on to focus on the individual course outlines. We are putting together an industry advisory council of between 6 and 8 eminent academicians and an industry advisory board of 6 professionals who are specialists in financial services, digital technologies, and data analytics. We are now in the process of admitting a very high quality founding class of students. Our founding class will intentionally be small because we are going to focus on quality, not on quantity. We will offer merit-based scholarships up to 25% of the tuition for the top 20% of the class. Our message to our students is that we are committed to offering you an exceptional learning experience. We encourage you to please fill in the online application as soon as possible. To our industry partners, our message is that we are committed to providing you ethical, thoughtful, creative, and employment-ready graduates. Thank you very much. And we now look forward to the Cornell team and Professor Linda Barrington to share her views with us.
Thank you, Dr. Rama. Linda? Dr. Linda Barrington, Associate Dean of External Relationships at Cornell S.C. Johnson College of Business.
Thank you. I, in my role as Associate Dean at the Cornell S.C. Johnson College of Business, lead our External Education and Relations group. My doctorate training is in economics, which explains some of why I believe, and I think I'm really proud of the collaborations our college undertakes. Global collaboration is necessary not only for a path forward for business, but it is clearly the only path on which we are going to find solutions to our world's greatest challenges. We really pride ourselves in these global collaborations of identifying strategic partners with whom we can deliver value and have, beyond that, a positive impact via education and service excellence in really the key international markets, which clearly India is one. In fact, we currently have 2 different and rather unique collaborations underway, also in Rwanda and Vietnam, that come out of my office. But as we look around the globe, I think as that economist framing keeps me focused, every business decision and right up through tackling those largest societal challenges are really about making, and I'm going to emphasize a word that Andrew used, making responsible decisions, but also effective decisions. And that requires being able to assess as well as weigh very difficult trade-offs that you have to make, even in an average business day, are not necessarily easy ones. And so having this rigorous, broad training based on scholarly research is just absolutely necessary to effectively and successfully weigh those trade-offs in order to understand what the really complex underlying problem is, and to make sure you're thinking about all the externalities and secondary impacts of that individual action or decision. So, it takes this really excellence in higher education that pushes that broad training, scholarly research, but partners it with really technical excellence. And I think that's part of what we're excited about partnering with Mahindra and the School of Management on shaping a degree that really does that. So the vision that Mahindra University School of Management has, as Andrew's also said, is quite inspiring, and it lines really well with ours. And it's really helped in our collaboration internationally to shape, launch, and really execute this strategic collaboration, and in a way that I think is really worthy of that visionary framing that Mahindra has laid out. The 3-degree programs in particular that Mahindra University has chosen to launch its School of Management around really do, I think, provide that rigorous and broad set of offerings. As Dr. Cindy Van Ness is going to tell you, we've aligned our faculty on those specialties so that we can really be as helpful as possible in pushing the curriculum and advising and consulting on how those programs get structured, especially, starting from day one. So this has made it really intellectually as well as personally satisfying to me to be able to work with such an aligned team. And as it's been mentioned, we've had a short timeline, but I think we started our conversations about 6 months ago, and we've just been able to accomplish so much, and it's quite exciting. I think academia is about scholarship for sure, but it is also about relationships, and it is about that collaborative sharing of knowledge and expertise, and that's what this is all about. It's taking the expertise that we have and helping to shape a program that will not be a Cornell program. It is a homegrown School of Management, Mahindra University program, but we want to be there to share our expertise, to share the scholarship that we have to help you be the most successful launches and impactful as possible. So I would just say, we're really what we've built to date and the plans for the future Cornell faculty teaching and student immersion tracks that you'll hear a little about later really do, I hope, provide the strong framework that you all are looking for and help also launch a future evolution between our universities. But I'm going to let Cindy go into sort of the details around the faculty that she's been leading.
Thanks, Linda. Dr. Cindy Van Ness, the faculty director for this initiative. Cindy?
Good evening from Ithaca, New York. I'm Dr. Cindy Van Ness. I have a PhD in statistics. I've been at Cornell 30 years. I've been director of undergraduate studies. And for 15 years, I was also director of our business inclusion and diversity program. As faculty director, I've been so fortunate to work with the Mahindra team to shape and guide the strategy as they move forward. Our faculty team also consists of 3 senior Cornell academics who are passionate about teaching, but they have high academic standards to help guide the 3 degrees. Dr. Scott Yonkers is in finance, Dr. Reza Mogamini is in data analytics, computational methods, and Dr. Vitala Rao is in marketing and quantitative methods. It's so exciting. You know, you have this canvas of a whole new school with world-class aspirations. And so it's been a great exercise to try to create something that's new and innovative. You know, we've given a lot of thought to not only the skills and the courses that students need now, but what's going to prepare them for the workplaces of the future. We've incorporated information from our own academic reviews, information from alumni, employers, career management. You know, there's a bit of complexity, though, in trying to align a 4-year world-class American business program with the undergraduate 3-year programs. But one of the things that does is force you to think about what's really important, what's really needed, what do the students need most. So in addition to sort of the core technical things, we've spent a lot of time thinking about some of the life skills that we think are important. I've heard them mention emotional intelligence, leadership, exercises like that. So we can really empower well-rounded students as part of Mahindra's innovative educational experience. And I feel so grateful to be having this opportunity to work with this group.
Thanks, Cindy. Nikita is the project director for this initiative. And she's a double master's from Cornell, if I may add. I think she's just graduating from your executive MBA, Nikita?
That's correct. So can't get enough of school and Cornell. Thank you. So hello again, Nikita Sarkar, and I work on Linda Barrington's external relations team for Johnson College of Business. So it's been really gratifying being part of this project as a double alum, but also as this project is having impact on my home country. So that's exceptionally important to me as I'm very passionate about education and empowerment. So in my second master's as an executive MBA, as Pradeep mentioned, I've really had a chance to see the power of international collaborations and networks, and to see the ripple effects that has as global education on local communities and individuals' lives and businesses, as well as just economies. So this Mahindra and Cornell strategic undertaking has been a closely collaborated effort, and it's structured around a really high cadence of weekly working sessions between the Cornell faculty teams that Cindy mentioned, the weekly progress and strategy meetings between US Cornell teams and the India Mahindra team. But to underscore what Pradeep said, it's hardly been a chore, because it's really been a dream team of professionals really committed to excellence. Now, taking the project management team, it's been stimulating to see this iterative process and this cadence that we've set up to reach the best practices, because everyone's committed to having a stellar student experience for starting this fall, right? And the collaboration has really, I believe, gotten us to this out-of-box thinking. So we have this opportunity to create something truly unique, forward-facing, and very relevant and timely. Through this diligent process, I do believe we've created a detailed course framework that we know is going to be truly differentiated in the market. And we're confident it will help prepare the new faculty at Mahindra to hit the ground running with its robust curriculum. As I mentioned, everyone's been extremely committed to excellence, so it's really been a dream working on this project. And with this launch, I'm excited, and I know we all are, for the execution phase to begin, when we get to start sharing the curriculum in the classroom soon.
Thanks, Nikita. I now hand over the mic to you so that you can discuss, introduce the panel.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So on that note, let's turn now to the second panel of the day. As the Cornell Mahindra team, we've embarked on this journey with a very clear outcome in mind. So the purpose was to create a world-class business education experience to best serve our most important constituency, which is the students, and then to prepare them for the workforces of the future. We all believe that the correct education of students helps them become global citizens, as mentioned several times, but that also makes them the bedrock of society, of business, and the world at large. With that said, I'm really excited to introduce our roster of leading expert educators and administrators on the second panel. Each and every professional is truly awesome in one word, and they take their responsibility very seriously in creating the future leaders and for helping students in not only developing their skills, but also their personalities, the moral, ethical frameworks, and then also aligning student development with business preparedness, so our students are prepared for the careers of the future. Allow me to please welcome Mr. Rishikesh Krishnan, who's the director of IIM Bangalore and a luminary in management education. Ms. Sunita Rao, who's the principal of Delhi Public School. Ms. Shivani Sahni, the principal with HRM Global School, Pitampura, Delhi. Dr. Vidukesh Kamal, headmaster at Assam Valley School. Mr. Roshan Gandhi, CEO of City Montessori School, Lucknow. Devin Biganis, also an esteemed colleague of mine at Cornell, who's the director of custom programs, corporate programs within the integrated area of Cornell University in Cornell External Education. In that role, he works with global clients in designing and delivering learning solutions, leveraging our Cornell faculty. And of course, Dean Rama will also be on the panel. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll be the moderator for this panel discussion. I would like to start with Dr. Rishikesh Krishnan, who is the director of IIM Bangalore. Dr. Krishnan, thank you so much for being at the event. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My first question, I would like to start off the discussion with you. You have been at the forefront of management education for quite some time. You have been a professor, a consultant, and of course, director of leading IIMs in India. So this is my first question to you. What is really different from the past? Because everybody says that, the future is different, the present is different, but what exactly is different? Are the future needs of business really different from that of the past? If so, what are they?
Yeah, that's a big question. Thanks for asking me that question. I think there are some ways in which a business is changing. One is it appears at least that the pace of change of business is much faster than it was before. So that's one important thing we need to keep track of. The second is, in many ways, the kind of inputs that are available to business are also changing. For example, today, you no longer have to do esoteric market research to find out what preferences people have. You can often just observe their behavior in real time, and there's data getting generated all the time by people's buying behavior. So there's this steady stream of data. There are also a lot of completely new ways, or at least evolving ways of reaching out to customers, particularly through all the digital tools that are available. So, I mean, these are just two or three, but, I think clearly on multiple dimensions, the nature of business is changing, and the nature of organizations is also changing. Increasingly, the sort of middle management in a way seems to be getting a little hollowed out. A lot of decisions for which you needed intuition earlier maybe can now be taken using AI and other similar tools. So you have a lot of people in the front line, but then you have a lot of decisions which can be taken through other means. So I think both business and organizations are changing rapidly.
Wow, thank you. I would like to bring in Ms. Sunita and Dr. Vidukesh. I hope you can hear me and you're there.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. You are teachers and, more importantly, school administrators. Hundreds of students have passed through your hands. Right? Now, there are people who are now all over the world working in companies or pursuing higher education. What are you hearing from them, and what are your thoughts on how the world, especially the business world, has changed, and how are you thinking about the future skills?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Pradeep. In fact, it's been very exciting to listen to everyone today, every single speaker representing Mahindra University and our association with you. I'm so excited, and it's heartening to know of your collaboration with Cornell University. As a postgraduate of statistics and economics, it was nice to see quite a few speakers representing the subjects. And as an expert of MEP, wherein I've had multiple discussions from CBSE on no heart separation, and also as a member of the National Skill Committee. We've had loads of reasons to discuss and dialogue about the kind of gap that is arising between school education and university to industry. So how fast and how quickly is school education going to adapt itself to match the offbeat careers and the skill set, the new skill sets that are required for the students? That's going to make a major difference, I must say, for our children to actually get adept and be ready for all those global choices that are available, be it in country or abroad. Children have a vast career choices, and they have enough opportunities to take up. And I feel as school educators, it's our responsibility to prepare a firm ground for them back in school. And because I must say, with 8,000 children in my campus, Delhi Public School, Nacharam, and with the largest senior school students passing out from the portals of our school each year, we're so happy that our children have adopted, whether it's law or chartered accountancy or CS or design or psychology, economics, liberal arts, entrepreneurship. There are a host of other careers that modeling, there are children who have gone out to Paris to become a model, to take up fashion studies and so on. I think as a school, the kind of variety of choices that you offer and the training that you give, because we conduct apprenticeship courses, we give them either the first choice of career or the second choice of career. We give them, I must say, an exposure for a week in the place of work. So they actually get mapped to industry experts, professionals, thanks to our parent, clientele and resources. And they get to know, they actually get to sample whether this is my right choice of career for the future, or am I on the right track or no. And that's happening as early as a class 11. That's important in school. And to also get them to engage in certain research studies, because whether design thinking or research studies were not a part of school education. One was more bound with the curriculum given in view of the examination patterns. But today, when one has moved out of it and created a curriculum with an extended purpose, where the child is going beyond their, I must say, certifications and, holding a mark sheet to graduate out to the outside world, they're getting equipped with much more than that. They're working on sustainability goals. They're working on community service. They're working on leadership, and they're carrying all this, as a host of certificates and skills and confidence out there. I'm very excited about the fact that the children would be able to avail of such international collaborations, because there's so much out there in the world that I feel our children should be aware of the choices, start working up early enough, knowing where they're heading to, create a roadmap for themselves. And we are very happy to have career counseling cell very active in our schools. And I'm sure many a school which is progressive enough is doing a lot in hand-holding children today, and kind of creating a path for their aspirations. Both parent and child holds loads of aspirations, and we as teachers should, I think, help build that for them. I have a lot to speak because we are a school who have already introduced not just a host of about 25 to 30 subject options, but we've also offered skill education. So different skill subjects have been introduced, and this particular year, we're taking it much further. And I'm sure that all this is here to stay. Thank you so much, Dr. Pradeep.
Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Pradeep. I think I'll go back to your question where you talked about the stories, and I'll say, look, before joining Assam Valley, also I was working with one of the prominent schools in the country, and I had a privilege to at least sending more than 15 to 20 odd students, or more than that, in fact, to Cornell, and and then obviously in the other Ivy League colleges. And it's fun to kind of hear the stories from those guys. And one of the very interesting thing which comes from them is that the focus in our school education system is too much on the content part. Fine, and because you are focused on content and then the required skill set, and too much been taught exactly what to do and kind of that kind of stuff, rather than how to go about something. And this what and how gap is a huge gap when they reach colleges. And in the initial days, when they go do their research work, when they go about their things, and that's why privileged are the students, those who got the opportunity to study in schools like, say, the school where I was working before this, and in our school, Assam Valley School, where you get the opportunity to focus on how to go about things. And your learning pattern is where, you are doing yourself certain things in a certain way, so that at the end of the day, when you are doing your research work, when you are moving, say, internship programs, when you are now presenting your papers, you are more skilled. And I think this gap basically creates the knowledge gap, and that's how a majority of our students, if I say in Indian school system, they don't go beyond. They follow a very certain pattern of, say, competition. They follow a certain pattern of, say, those fixed things. And I guess opportunities like this, where collaboration is happening, that's why, in fact, rather than using the word global, I'll use the word glocal. That, no, okay, the global is happening local, fine, and it just helps the students, kind of explore something which is the best practice in the world at your doorstep and very nearby area. And I guess if as a school we can focus more on how to go about things, and not hide behind the curriculum or the syllabus or the exam, because examination boards are just there to conduct the exams, but as a school we have the choice to do certain things within the periphery or within that system, where we allow our students to do the research work, we allow our students to engage with original thinking, and kind of like in our school we have a very beautiful system we are trying to establish. It's called innovation design place, where people from art, people from sciences, people from any stream can come and kind of share their thoughts, and maybe based on that we can create something in that center. So that kind of stuff, if schools can pick up, I'm pretty sure. But yes, the stories remain the same, that how and what the difference is there, and that's the biggest challenge they say initial days they face in universities when they go abroad or anywhere else. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shivani, Mr. Roshan, this is a question for both of you. My question is a slight variant of the conversation that has happened before. We all agree that when kids are in school, they are wide-eyed, they are, excited, they are doing so many different things, they are listening to teachers, and one of you mentioned that term, which is that there is this gap in the sense that once they get out of school, and then as they pass through higher education, undergrad, postgrad, and jobs or whatever, right? There is some gap that is happening. So the question to both of you, since you are seeing them from different angles, is why do you think this gap is happening? What is missing in the later levels of engagement that creates this particular gap that everyone is talking about?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Pradeep, for putting this question across. And before answering to that, I would like to congratulate both Mahindra University as well as Cornell University to come up with this collaboration. I'm sure this is going to be, a great support to the students of India. So to address to your, yes, of course, as Ms. Rao was also mentioning, they have started about 25 courses in their school, in their campus. And I believe that it starts at a very young age. I mean, as young as we start developing the skills in the children, it's more critical and more important. Dr. Vidukesh also mentioned that it's more of content in the schools. As of now, what has been happening before the introduction of NEP 2020 was that the curriculum completion, the syllabus completion was the main focus. However, with NEP coming into being, which is a revolutionary document, however, it all depends upon the implementation, though I'm sure that it is going to be picked up by all the educators very, very well, and it would be implemented with all its ethics kept in place. So I think skill building is the most important focus out there in that document, and that is very important to bridge the gap between what a student learns in the school and then is prepared for the university, further prepared for the industry. And I believe, though we've been talking about 21st century skills, inculcating all of those in the students, to my belief, besides the technical, conceptual, and the human relation skills that we are teaching children, it is very important to teach another set of skills, which I give an acronym called FLIPS, which is about flexibility, leadership, initiative, productivity, and social skills. So in the current scenario, as rapidly the things are changing, I think deviating from plans as needed is very important. So hence the flexibility, motivating a team to accomplish a goal at all levels, whether it is mid-management level or the senior management level or the frontliners. So that's about leadership. Initiative is about starting new projects, strategizing and planning depending upon the own's, own's needs in everything. And productivity is maintaining efficiency in the age of these distractions. A lot of distractions are happening in terms of pandemic, and a lot of different needs are arising. So hence the productivity. And the social needs, which would be, of course, meeting and networking with others for the mutual benefits. So that's what I feel that is the need of the hour to be brought into the school system.
Mr. Roshan, your thoughts?
Yeah, so thank you very, very much for having me, and congratulations to Mahindra and Cornell on this wonderful initiative. I represent schools which cater to sort of mass access. Our schools have about 56,000 students. We cater to lower middle class and lower fee. And we keep seeing a lot of movement in this direction, very positive movement in the sector in India towards more skills-based education. Of course, with the advent of the new education policy, there's great movement towards that. Of course, in schools like ours, we are trying to do that while also battling against not having the same unlimited resources, while not having the same level of trained teachers, while not having some of these things. And so we're on a very exciting transformation journey where we are going to try to truly introduce skills-based and global citizenship education into our classrooms, despite some of those constraints. So we're looking at a model to make this realistic at scale. And I think this is really important because it's something that has been missing from the vast majority of Indian schooling. And even now, it's only the top cream of schools that is able to sort of easily move towards implementing that. For the rest of schools, it requires a different set of work. And we've really been building a vision with our principals, with our teachers, working from the ground up, analyzing how can we reimagine our curriculum from top to bottom to create space and time for for skills-based education to happen, and for global citizenship to become a core integrated part of our entire curriculum. And then how can we support and empower these teachers who've previously not really been exposed to these ideas to start delivering that in their classrooms? And how can we set up the kinds of professional development and things that will enable them to do that, despite the limited human and financial resources that we have to facilitate that? So it's quite an exciting journey. I think the entire community in our establishment is very excited about that and is really taking it very seriously, because I think it's absolutely clear to everyone that this is non-negotiable. This is the absolute need of the hour, that we are churning out generations of students who are lacking the basic skills that they will need to thrive in the world that we are moving into. And so we're taking it on as a really, our moral responsibility to be able to equip our students to do that and trying to overcome every challenge. One other thing we're trying to do is to really engage all our stakeholders, our parents, in that change process, because sometimes schools want to do something new and good, but the parents might have a traditional mindset and they push back on that and they try to resist certain changes. So of course we're coordinating quite a comprehensive strategy to involve all these stakeholders at every level to ensure that that's a success. So it's a very exciting journey and one which we consider to be of the utmost importance.
Wow, thank you. Very exciting story, actually. And my next question to you, Devin and Dr. Rama. And again, it stems from whatever has been said just before this. Everybody is talking about skill building, skill development. Even the national education policy has been talking about that. You both have worked all over the world. You have worked with stakeholders across, when I say stakeholders, institutions across the world. So the question to both of you is, how does somebody place a finger on what skills to develop? Because if you look at the discussion that just happened about 15 minutes, right, you'll see that there's a combination of soft skills and, hard skills. And the problem with that is, as you keep, and we curriculum developers always face that, as you start discussing and as you keep saying, hey, this is important and this is important, and then suddenly the whole thing goes up, and then we lead to that problem which Shivani and Sunita were talking about, which is content overload. And that again messes up the whole story. So how does somebody go about doing that? What are some of the best practices that you see across the world? We'll start with Devin.
Great. Yeah, no, thank you, Pradeep. And let me just echo my colleagues on the Cornell side's enthusiasm for this partnership. I'm thrilled to be entering into this new journey and this long-term journey with Mahindra University within Cornell University. As Nikita mentioned earlier, and maybe a little bit of context, Pradeep, to answer your question. So I sit sort of in the area of Cornell University that engages with external organizations like Amazon and Merck, and SC Johnson obviously is a core partner of ours, in helping develop their leaders to take their organizations forward in areas of innovation, leadership, business acumen, those sort of things. And so I think there's a couple different lenses that I think Mahindra is well positioned to contribute to this, that help put your finger on the pulse of sort of skills that are being developed. And one is this notion of sort of developing bilingual or multilingual leaders. And I don't just mean language like Spanish and English and obviously other languages that are actually spoken. It's more the language of, and as one senior executive that we work with a lot within a fast growing technology firm said, he said, the leaders of tomorrow will speak fluently the languages of engineering and technology and business and leadership, right? So that notion of developing bilingual leaders in both of those areas, I think, is critical to what Mahindra is trying to develop. And you're well positioned to do that, given your expertise in both the engineering and technology space, in addition to your School of Management now, with Cornell helping contribute to those. But if you think of how you might speak two fluent languages like Spanish and English or Arabic and English, you would need to know when to speak those, how to speak those, and in different contexts of speaking those. So one is this bilingual leader nature, and I think that's a key focus area to develop both of those. Linked to that, and this has been called, and given the work we do at Cornell Tech, we're developing what we're calling the product manager mindset for leadership development, right? Which is this notion of you have to be both deep and wide, right? So it's often referred to as the T-shaped leadership model, which is you have to have technical depth in certain areas that you want to be an expert in, right? So whether it's a product line, it's a function, it's a product area, but you also have to be able to go deep, right? I mean, so go wide. So if you think of, the leaders who have been very successful in this digital world, the Jeff Bezoses of the world, et cetera, they understand their product lines really well. Amazon Video, Amazon Prime, Amazon Web Services, but they also understand how the entire enterprise works. And so to answer your question in sort of in an expansive way, I would say that developing both your depth in certain areas, what do you want your brand to focus on? What do you want to be an expert in? So that's one of the depth, but also using the broad reaching management business education like you're talking about at Mahindra University in this program to develop the depth, because I think leaders who can speak both those languages and also have both depth and breadth are going to be the game changers of business in the future. And I think starting with the undergraduate experience is a great place to start that journey in developing those multilingual and the product managers of the future.
Thanks, Devin. Dr. Rama, your thoughts?
Yeah, so, several of the school principals have spoken about the NEP, the National Education Policy, the New Education Policy 2020. And the new education policy talks about creating or developing well-rounded individuals. And I just want to share an anecdote, which was kind of an eye-opener for me. When we moved to Shanghai in 2007, our two daughters went to an American school. And I remember the first parent-teachers meeting that my wife and I attended for our daughter who was then in 5th grade. And just to give you a background, when I was in school and we had parent-teachers meetings, the students actually were asked not to show up. It was a meeting between adults and the students, would get in the way, of course, which we loved because it was like holiday for us. But when we went to the parent-teachers meeting, my daughter actually led the entire meeting. So it was clear that she had prepared the meeting with her teacher. And she showed us her work. She showed us, she shared with us her areas of strength. She shared with us the areas where she needed to improve. She told us what she would do to make improvements. And she told us what support she needed from us to achieve those improvements, right? So I was totally floored by this experience of 30 minutes. And so what I saw that those 30 minutes as representing was that the school was actually trying to inculcate in young students this skill of taking ownership of their own outcomes, right? And I think one of the things that I love about the American system is that, both at the level of families and at the level of schools, children are actually trained from a very young age to take ownership for their own outcomes, okay? This, along with social skills, which we emphasize less actually, right? But for example, having a sleepover with friends helps you develop social skills. I mean, we develop social skills in India in a different context. If you speak to Indra Nui, for example, but Indra Nui, I've heard her speak many times, and she has said that one of the things that contributed to her becoming a very, successful leader was the fact that she grew up in a joint family. And a joint family, you have to, play with cousins, and you have to share the limited resources with your cousins, and you learn negotiation skills and consensus building from a very young age, right? So social skills, taking ownership for your own learning outcomes, which leads to youngsters learning to make decisions on their own, right? So this is something that I see now being emphasized more and more at the school level. So my daughters went to the IB system, the International Baccalaureate system, and this is something that very front and center in that system. But that's something that I think we should continue to do in the undergraduate education. When we talk about skills, it's not just the tangible skills that are going to make people employable, the technology skills, right? But these soft skills, right? This ability to take ownership of your own decisions, the ability to communicate with people, the ability to get along with people. These are the skills that we should be emphasizing with these youngsters.
Thank you, Dr. Rama. My next question is to you, Dr. Rishikesh. From your vantage point, as I said, director of a leading B school right now, and of course, leading B school previously as well. I'm pretty sure you have heard so many times in your life the industry complain that our graduates are not industry ready, right? What do you do to map the skills of the future to the curriculum, and how do you encourage the students to follow your lead?
Well, I think the simplest way of mapping the skills of the future to what they need to learn is to really talk to people who are the cutting edge of what's happening, the lead users, so to say, or the people who are really, shaping the trends. So one of the things I'm actually doing right now is I'm talking to CEOs of some of the most sort of cutting edge companies in India, people who are out there at the frontier really changing things. And this is part of our MBA curriculum review. So I'm trying to understand from them, what are the skills you're looking for in a manager today? How do you expect those to change in the next few years? And which are some of the schools from which you see the most skilled and adept managers? What do you see as different about those schools? So essentially, I think that's one simple way of doing it, which is really to look at those organizations which are at the leading edge and to speak to them and get a perspective from them on what they think are the skills required for the future. Then, of course, there's the challenge of getting the faculty and the school to buy into that set of skills to make appropriate changes in the curriculum. I think the students are not that difficult to persuade. I think once they know that the inventory of skills that you have identified is based on speaking to people in the industry, they're quite happy to go along.
Okay, thank you. We have 4 school principals, and I would invite any two to take a shot at this. Same question, which is from your vantage point, what do you tell students and their parents as to what are the necessary future skills that they should acquire, whether at this point or in the future? We can start with Ms. Sunita.
Yes, I think first of all, as parents, it's important to be well informed. And parents, it's like a family discussion. It cannot be okay. As a parent, I have certain aspirations which did not become a reality, and therefore I now thrust that on the child. It's so important for children and parents to know, be well informed of what the world or India and abroad are offering them. First of all, understand the child's innate capabilities and interest levels. It's so important to study the child across their school years to see what interests and excite these children. But area of, because I know of children in class 8 saying that I'm going to do this particular track, or I'm going to adopt this career, I'm going to do this research. As young as a class 8 child, they're vocal enough about their career choices. If that is so, I would appeal on parents to have a lot of dialogue and discussion at home, observe the child in the way they actually relate to studies and the kind of interest and aptitude that they're gaining across subjects, and finally settle down for certain plans that would actually match with the child, and not it be a conflict to the child's, because we've seen children who have adopted certain courses in class 11 but gave it up in class 12 saying, I don't think this is my cup of tea. And that's not, so therefore early decisions and discussions at home are very important, and align it to the child's skill set. Because apart from the schools that do a good job on identifying and instilling skills in the child, the parent also should identify to say, my child is very high on communication, my child is very high on IT or technology related skills, and track to go ahead in this kind of a track. That would help the children align their goals very well and actually adopt certain careers that they would carry forward in life, rather than say, I don't think this was what I planned for or I wanted in my life. Thank you.
Thank you. One more.
Yeah.
Shivani.
Besides these points that are being put forward, I would say that there is one more very important thing to look at right from the ages of grade 9, 10, 11, 12 is that aptitude and interest. Because there's been seen that there might be a difference between the aptitude and the interest of a child. I might have an aptitude to something, but not an interest towards it, or I might have an interest to it, but not an aptitude. So hence, I think career counseling plays a very vital role. This is in taking care of this area. Apart from that, another area is that about the resources. As we talk about the collaboration that is happening today, I think it makes the cost effectiveness, it brings the cost effectiveness. So it's equally important for the parents to even look at the resources and look at the wide available curriculums that are there in India or abroad. So all of these things also, I think, play a very crucial because the child might dream of something. I might think of, as a child, I might start thinking that, okay, this is what I'm going to do and pursue. However, I might not have those kinds of scholarships available in those institutes where I am desiring to be, or my parents might not be in a position to, afford that kind of tuition fees and all of those things. So I think all of these things are also equally important for the discussion at right age.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Pradeep. In fact, I'll say, obviously they have covered the upper school at grade 11, 12 discussions, but I think certain things need to happen, and what we call it option at 14, fine. When kind of start focusing on certain kind of thing, and two areas are very, very important, and which like you make it a way of life in your organization, in your curriculum. One is critical thinking, because how to push, because college, abroad and everywhere, they look for such people, and that will lead to the research skills and other things. And that second area which we focus in our school especially is the expression, because to express yourself, how you're going to express yourself, because the kind of kids which we get in our areas from northeastern states and 8 states, and by culturally they are not expressive. They don't express themselves, they hold their emotions. And it's very important today's time, if you have to kind of go abroad and go outside, or say be part of something, you need to work upon this part. And then last and most important part is not know how to, or say, rather than focusing on what to do, focus on how to do things, so that you are well prepared, as ready for the industry, you're ready for the college in that way.
Thank you. What I would like to do now is open up the panel for Q&A before I go for final comments from all the panelists, if that is okay with you. Okay. Let me just quickly go through the Q&A, because we have it in the chat, and Okay, so we have Mr. Naveen, who's asking a question regarding entrepreneurial mindset. And this has become a very important point, as we all know, and many of you have also mentioned it. At the same time, there is a certain amount of nebulousness, if you think about it, because it's very hard, or at least half the population believes that it's very hard to teach entrepreneurship, and the other half believes that it is possible to teach. So I will start with Devin, given that you are also dealing with as part of your executive education endeavors. Entrepreneurial mindset. How do you build it? What kind of courses, if you will, should one take to build entrepreneurial mindset? Or is that like an oxymoron?
That's a great question, Pradeep. And obviously, where I sit, you would definitely expect me to say that entrepreneurial mindset can be taught because Cornell can teach it, right? I mean, that's how sort of a part of a lot of my discussions with my clients these days. But I do think entrepreneurial mindset or entrepreneurial mindset, as some other ways framed, innovation, it's this notion that sort of if you see unmet needs or you see opportunities, you can mobilize either a startup or all the way up to a Fortune 5 big company, you can drive sort of the organization to respond to those unmet needs, right? You see an opportunity, you see something that isn't happening, and then you drive the organization forward to that. So I absolutely think you can teach that. There's skills around sort of design thinking. I love, obviously, the shout out to critical thinking as a key component. I think that's an absolute sort of core part of entrepreneurial mindset is managing the complexity. So if you think of it like a value chain, right? Everything from what is the customer's unmet need or what is the stakeholders, if it's an internal stakeholder, what is the thing that's not happening, essentially? And then how do you develop products, organizational designs that help take that forward all the way to rapidly prototyping, what they call a minimum viable product, right? So, a simple thing of, I see an opportunity. Does this fit that opportunity? Yep. Okay, great. No, let me go back and rethink about it, right? There's a lot of thinking around systems thinking, design thinking, innovation, leading change, and then you're into the phase of, okay, how do I've got an idea, right? I've got this fantastic product. How do I get mobilization for it? How do I get the organization to support it? Or if I'm a startup, how do I get funding for it? How do I get how do I build or cross the chasm, if you will? I'll give you a great example so Cornell does a lot of work in hospitality, and we were doing an innovation program for a big luxury hotel brand. And one of the great stories of innovation that they found was that there was a case where they found that the organization noticed that a lot of people weren't swimming in their swimming pools, right? Swimming was down 40% at these luxury properties. And they were like, what is happening to these are great swimming pools. Is it the water? What is happening? And the innovation that got that fixed came from somebody who noticed that people weren't swimming because the air outside was too cold, the towels were too cold, right? So he's like, let me try something. So he brought out a portable heater where he stored towels in a portable heated unit. So when people came out of the swimming pool, they got a fresh, hot towel, right? That increased swimming at that property by 47% over a 4-month period, right? It was a simple thing, right? It was somebody saw that people weren't swimming in a pool. He said, what if I get heated towels? That word of mouth, people go, oh, I want to swim. I want that heated towel. So I just thought that was a really great example from innovation at a very entry level, junior level position that had enormous repercussions in that business, right? I just thought that was a really nice sort of summary of innovation, seeing an opportunity, trying something, and then getting buy-in for it and having support to do it. It drove innovation.
Wow, interesting story. I have to ask this question to Dr. Rama because he's a professor of entrepreneurship and he has worked in this area for God knows how many years now. Dr. Rama, your perspective, you obviously will agree with me, right?
Yeah, so this is, thank you, Pradeep. And this is actually a very important issue and we give this a lot of thought. So when we think of inculcating the entrepreneurial mindset in youngsters, we have to ask, who should we teach the entrepreneurial mindset to? Because individuals, at the end of the day, grow up in a social milieu, right? They have the family, they have the extended family, they have friends network, teachers have a very big influence on them. So when we talk about the entrepreneurial mindset, to inculcate that in a society, we need to teach the entrepreneurial mindset to parents, because typically what happens, especially in conservative Asian societies, is that when the child wants to step off the beaten path, the instinct of the parents is to say no, right? The instinct of many schools, and I think the principals that are here today are some of the leading schools in the country. So I think this would not be their case, but even today in many schools, children are discouraged from trying out new things, from experimenting, right? So I think we need an education drive to educate parents, teachers, other influencers to be a little more tolerant of children when they want to try something new, and to encourage them to conduct small experiments from a very young age, right? And if they're encouraged to do that, and this is something that's very easy to understand at an intellectual level, but it's very difficult to imbibe at an emotional level. Because my second daughter is studying theater at New York University. And being typical Indian parents, we were extremely nervous about her doing theater. We thought that she should be studying something like engineering or mathematics or statistics or something like that, right? So while I was teaching the importance of the entrepreneurial mindset, to my students in class, when my daughter came up to me and she said that she's passionate about theater, my instinct was actually to say, no, don't do it, right? And I had to hold myself back. So it's actually it's not that easy, right? Culturally, many societies have discouraged experimentation, and it's actually a monumental task. Things are changing slowly, right? Some of the cutting edge schools, the schools that are leading the way are slowly bringing about changes and encouraging their youngsters to experiment. But I think we all need to first educate ourselves before we talk about educating the youngsters on how to develop the entrepreneurial mindset.
Thank you. Thank you so much. In the interest of time, I'll start wrapping up with the final question to all the panelists. I'll again go back to Dr. Rishikesha. There are lots of parents in this meeting today, and many of them have kids who are just probably about to graduate their 12th or 11th. They're thinking about careers for their kids. In your vast experience, or let's say putting your vast experience together, if you were to tell them 2 to 3 things that will help them pick the right career for their kids, when I say pick the right career, help the kids choose the right career for themselves, what would those 2 or 3 things be?
So my main advice would be that today, I think India as well as the world is full of opportunities. So I think just echoing what Rama was just saying, I don't think there's a reason to be scared about people pursuing what might appear to be unconventional paths. So as long as the kids have both, aptitude and interest, I think it really makes sense to encourage them to pursue the path they would like to pursue. And as long as they are striving for excellence in what they are doing, I think there's a good chance they will succeed. So my general advice to all parents would be to encourage people on that track, because there's just so much opportunity around. It really doesn't make sense to box people into conventional careers.
Thank you. Ms. Sunita, what would be the 2 things or 3 things that you will tell parents to help them pick the right career for their kids?
I think I would suggest that parents do not restrict children and keep options open. And it's also important not to have one track. It's very important to have choices in life, because we never know with the kind of competitive world out there whether we succeed in that one single track or not. So I always advise children, with the kind of offbeat solutions that are available, have more than one solution in mind and work towards that. And that would make a difference to the fact that you're well equipped to have multiple choices in life. So I would wish that parents support, and it's also important for parents to be very, journey across with the child through their school years. I find that as they grow up towards senior school, parents think that the children are very independent and they hardly journey with them. It's so important to be talking to children more often to understand their mindset, their perspectives, their knowledge, and what they're carrying forward and what they're having in mind, so that they can align it and help them take decisions at the right time, and also be open-minded towards all these decision making. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Roshan? What do you tell parents?
I would echo the statement about keeping an open mind, especially if we're talking about parents of children at high school age. The advice to give the kids is to work on developing their skills, their personalities, take part in a range of activities. And then I think, develop passions and interests. And a career will follow from that. I think nobody needs to decide upon a career when they're in class 10th, 11th, 12th.
Okay. I'll ask a variant of this question to Shivani and Vidikesh. There's always this problem, management versus technology, right? And I have these unlimited conversations and arguments with so many of, my peers whose kids are now about to get into college and things like that, right? Like one of the parents I recently spoke to said, my kid doesn't even know what dress she wants to buy. So do you really think she has the capability to pick a career, whether it's management or technology or whatever? So he decided that technology is the future, and then he put her in a technology related course. So Shivani, how do you encourage at the same time discourage parents to do things like these?
Dr. Pradeep, that management is an integral part of anything. You need to have a managerial acumen, whichever stream you pick up. So there are multitude of opportunities that are available. And I think when it comes to, I'll give you an example of my son. He is wanting to pursue fashion designing. So for quite some years, he'd been telling me that this is what, and he's really very creative. So I thought, okay, let me not ask him to take up sciences and things like that. And I sat down with him and I discussed that, okay, what as a fashion designer? But besides, as a fashion designer, if you take up business also along with it, so don't you think it is going to give you a two-pronged strategy, to be an entrepreneur, maybe, if not a job kind of a thing. So you would be in a position to offer more jobs to people. So that's where I think it's important for us to listen to our children, do a lot of research work, because plethora of different types of courses and opportunities are available all across the globe. We need to look at the right fit for our own children. And I think management is going to be there. I'm myself a management graduate. I did my management and I'm an educationist. So I think it is, supporting me in a lot of different kind of projects that I keep doing at my school. So it's very important, I suppose.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Vidikesh?
Hi, Pradeep. Thank you. In fact, first thing I'll say for parents that don't have the instructional relationship with your kids, have a communicative relationship where, shared information, where, otherwise majority of the parents, they have the instructional relationship. They instruct their kids and they are thinking that communication is happening. I feel this is a very, very important aspect. The second aspect is don't try to live your life and fulfill your dreams through your kids. And that's especially, that's very much pretended in our country, that, in Indian and subcontinent, that, we try to live our dreams through our kids. That's very important. And the third and most important thing is people, due to this information available on internet and all kind of stuff, people curate information. I think it's very important to go to the right person to get the right information, because all kind of information available. And my advice to parents is, please don't unnecessarily curate information. Choose the right person, go to the right person, and seek advice from the right person. It will help you.
So let me push you a little further, Dr. Vidikesh, because this is a very important question and a point you raised. And this is again for the interest of all the parents here. How do you choose that right person? How do you know? It's like marriage.
Exactly. Like, say, for example, in this case, if you have to check the credibility. If, say, for example, this Mahindra Cornell collaboration, if I may say this, fine. From the word go, I can say that if these people are going to advise you, there's an Ivy League collaboration with a fantastic, kind of setup in this country, they are going to give a right set of advice. Go to them, and definitely they will advise on that way. So that's what the credibility, the prior credibility works a lot, and you have to research about that credibility rather than, kind of going away altogether to a so so-called celebrity career counselor somewhere. But more than that, I think this kind of credibility will help a lot.
Thank you. I'll give the last word to Devin. The same question, how do you help parents decide what path to take for the kids, or encourage the kids to take the right path?
Yeah, well, Pradeep, thank you so much. It's truly an honor to get the last word with this distinguished panel. I'm not sure what I did to deserve that, but I definitely appreciate the honor there. And also, this is really helpful advice. I'm the father of a 9-year-old boy and a 7-year-old girl, so I'm a few years behind the needing to make college decisions for them. So this advice is really helpful. I should engage this group more often. But I noticed that there's a number of questions in the text about sort of the ongoing collaboration between Mahindra and Cornell University. And so I thought maybe I'll just share that as the last word. Obviously, this is a dynamic collaboration, as Linda and Nikita mentioned earlier, and Dean Carolli as well mentioned about in the sort of the consultative phase, right? So helping set up the program, contribute to the curriculum, build on those lessons. But the collaboration doesn't stop there, and nor should it. And so what we're working with the group is to have numerous opportunities for the collaboration to sort of stay fresh and stay engaged from the student experience standpoint. One of them is going to be faculty in residence sessions. So we've worked with Rama and Inyaj and the team to come up with a schedule for faculty coming over to the campus to teach seminars, to teach workshops, to be sort of a core part of that. We're still working through exactly who that might be, but obviously some of the same faculty that Cindy highlighted, faculty will be coming over to the campus. And I know they're excited about that, and that'll be a great part of the collaboration. We are also working to offer students the opportunity to come to Ithaca or New York City, either of our Cornell campuses. I'm physically based in Ithaca. I am virtually based at our Cornell Tech campus in New York City, as you can see behind me. But we are working on student immersion sessions that will be a core part of that experience for students to have the opportunity and the possibility of coming across to Ithaca in New York to engage with Cornell faculty, to engage as a community. So we see that as a core part. And then also under the Cornell External Education umbrella, we work very closely with eCornell. And eCornell is a part of Cornell University that focuses on online learning. And so we're going to give students the opportunity to take an eCornell course or two, or the final design that would complement, engage with Cornell faculty, and have the opportunity to do that as well. So we're seeing that right now there's at least 3 ways that the students will stay connected to Cornell, engage with Big Red and get that kind of flavoring within Cornell as well, in terms of engaging with faculty locally in India, coming over to New York and Ithaca, and then also taking Cornell programs online. So we are thrilled about the ongoing sustainable partnership as we think about other ways in which we could grow the Mahindra Cornell University partnership. So Pradeep, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to engage with you on this exciting time and place for your school and for our university as well.
Thanks, Devin. Thank you so much. With that, we will end this panel discussion. Thank you so much, Dr. Rishikesha. Thank you, Ms. Sunita, Shivani, Dr. Vidikesh, Roshan. We really appreciate your time, and we're happy that you were able to interact with our attendees, and we hope to interact with you even more in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Some of us will stay back to take a few questions regarding the programs and stuff, but the others can leave, the attendees. Thank you. You have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Rishi. Thank you, Ms. Shivani. Thank you, Ms. Sonia and Roshan and Vidukesh.
So I guess whoever is left is either our faculty or parents and students.
And Cornell team.
Of course, yeah. We have some questions regarding the program. I guess some are related to Cornell, so I will read them out. And if anybody from the Cornell team can take a shot, that'll be awesome. Of course, Devin has given a 50,000 feet perspective, but if he can, explain that a little bit more, either, anybody would be fine. One is, what kind of engagement will students have with Cornell if they join this Mahindra program?
I had to unmute. Hi, this is Cindy Van Ness. I hope to maybe sometime visit, or I think when the students, part of the summer programs, maybe an opportunity, as Devin was saying, to come to our campus. I could also envision some in the world today of sort of having online connections. Perhaps there would be an opportunity to set up some connections at some point for one of us to be able to speak to some of the students. I think, you know, also what we bring is, I want to emphasize again the well-rounded students. I was happy to hear about the people who are interested in ethics and entrepreneurial mindset and leadership skills. And I was very impressed by the principles and the ideas also as a parent of a high-powered lawyer, a chef musician, and a tech writer who does stand-up comedy. I can relate to a lot of the different ideas that have gone on, but I think Cornell, we would like to have, I personally would like to at some point be able to, perhaps virtually or maybe someday in person, meet with some of the students and share some of my experience. And the last thing I want to add in terms of your question, I was going to chime in about entrepreneurial mindset, is I also run a course every other year where we take our business students to South Africa. And we work with small business entrepreneurs in the townships. And one of our most successful was working with a nonprofit group that was teaching entrepreneurship at Soweto High School as an after-school program. And their goal was to introduce this mindset to the schools. And we did video interviews with students in the class and put it on their website. But one of the things that most struck me, and it may be in India also, was the students, yeah, they learned some marketing and finance, but they learned not to wait for the government to solve everything. That was their biggest takeaway. They learned that because their parents had grown under apartheid, and then Mandela said everything will be fine. And so they had to learn personal responsibility and to grow themselves and not to wait for parents or family or especially the government. So that mindset is very crucial in developing, and I personally believe it can be taught a little. You can teach some of the hard skills, but from having interviewed students in those programs, their personal development was very profound.
Thank you, Cindy. There is a question regarding the Cornell collaboration, so I will pose that to Dr. Rama, and then again, anybody from Cornell team can also follow up with their perspective. I understand that the current collaboration of Cornell University is limited to course design, lectures, and Cornell professors coming in, plus of course the immersion of the summer program, right? Is there a scope to extend this collaboration where students can attend 1 or 2 semesters at Cornell?
So this is something that we hope will evolve, as the relationship develops. As of now, the different facets of the collaboration that both Devin and Cindy mentioned are what have been agreed. Okay, so to repeat, so there is consultation on the positioning of the programs. There's consultation on the curricula. There will be consultation on the individual course outlines. There'll be mentoring for junior faculty from the senior Cornell faculty. There's going to be 3-week summer immersions in Cornell. There's going to be e-Cornell courses. And then there's going to be faculty coming from Cornell to India to teach on our campus here. So this is what we have today, okay? This is, I think, a very deep collaboration to begin with. It is multifaceted, but there's no reason why it cannot develop further and become stronger and for new facets to emerge. That's something that we'll just have to work on, I think. Yeah. But I'm confident that this collaboration will become stronger in the future. But at this point in time, we can't promise anything more than what we have already agreed.
Fantastic. I guess those are all the questions right now. Very specific to the Cornell collaboration. There are some questions regarding the programs. I guess some of them are more documentary in nature, in the sense that, can you send us a list of courses to be taken in the BBA program and so on. Is there, for whoever is listening right now, Do you have any more questions for the team that is here right now? Sorry?
Can they ask their questions verbally, or can they only type them?
Q&A or ask verbally as well. Whatever works for them.
Please raise your hand to ask questions.
Yeah, you can just raise your hand and then we will enable you to ask the question. Actually, there is this theme which I think we should touch upon, which is the 3 years versus 4 years, which is always a question that will come up. So how does that work in our case, in the sense that is there a possibility for people to continue as a 4th-year student in Cornell? Does Cornell look at students like that? Maybe somebody from Cornell can take a shot at that.
And I think Yaj will take it first, and then he'll pass on to Cornell.
Sure.
Go ahead, Yaj.
Let me say this, that the new education policy, NEP, does talk about the 3-year undergraduate program to be given in a 4-year mode. But right now, the focus is in the 4th year will be a research topic, a research thesis to be worked on, and that the degree could be, the terminology of the degree could be, let's say, BA research or BBA research, etc. These are things which are developing and evolving, okay? Rama and myself and his team have spoken about this, and even with the Cornell team, which is listening on, that we would be more delighted for offering a 4-year undergraduate program, because this is in sync with the overseas institutions, the US model, the Europe model, etc. Okay. The only point which comes about is what would the degree be termed? Is it going to be called BA Economics and Finance, or should it be called BA Research Economics and Finance, etc.? Okay. We are sure that over the next 12 months, some amount of development, some amount of work, and some amount of finality will emerge in this aspect. And we are of the firm consensus that even when a student is entering the 2nd year of his 3-year program, he or she could then be offered the 4-year option, that they can stay on for 1 more year and get the appropriate degree at the end of 4 years. It will work out. And Cornell has also been involved in the discussions, because they have also looked at curriculum for 4-year angle and tried to provide it for a 3-year degree course. Whether the student is going to be spending the 4th year in Cornell, etc., as my colleague Professor Gurnani has pointed out, it's all up to how our relationship with Cornell develops. Okay, every university which has 100, 150, 200 year legacy will look at things in a specific perspective, and we appreciate that. Okay, we are sure, as Rama has said, the relationship is going to go on. I've seen a number of questions also saying, would an engineering student at the Ecole Centrale School of Engineering get the option to be at Cornell, etc.? Nikita and Devin are smiling, because we did talk about that maybe this management collaboration could get extended to the engineering side, to the sciences side, to law, etc. I'm sure that we would do it, because I know Cornell very well. I know them for the last 5-6 years, and I've worked with them previously also, and the option is there. But as Rama has said, and Rama is one of those great management entrepreneurs who lays it out in a very perfect manner, everything depends upon the perspective of how we approach our relationship with Cornell. Thank you.
Yes, so if I may add to that, so just, having been an international student, having done my undergraduate in the Indian system, so this point about the 4-year degrees to qualify for a master's in the US, I mean, obviously it's been a point that's been raised again and again, just in terms of transitioning to US system. So this is something that, obviously we take note of. And again, to reiterate what Rama and Yaj have just said, this is the start of the relationship. So we're all viewing this as the beginning of a long-term relationship. And that's why these kind of conversations are very helpful for us as a team to then get a pulse on what people are needing, what's required. So it's great for us, and again, I use the word gratifying, for us to know that a lot of the hard work that we are doing is in line with all the needs that we've been hearing, right? So the soft skills, the out of class learning, the immersion programs. So that's something that our faculty are really challenging themselves, and we've spent a lot of time in discussions about what's a US model, and then how does that translate to the Indian system currently, especially with the 3-year program stipulation, etc. And then how do we expand it and morph it potentially to a 4-year model as regulations and systems support it. So I just want to underscore the fact that this conversation, I mean, Rama laid out pretty clearly what's on the table right now, but these conversations are, as I said, iterative, and we're rest assured taking a lot of these inputs in mind as we are working on a consultative aspect, then also going into execution. And one of the things that I keep saying, as a double alum, I have to always give a shout out to my alma mater. The beauty of Cornell is the diversity and the breadth of education, right? So I think even in that respect, we are so aligned with Mahindra University's vision of many different schools and many lines of education, many lines of schools that are going to come online even in the future. So let's treat this as the beginning of a long-term relationship. And these questions are really important for us to take note of, and we are.
Thank you, Nikita. I guess we have successfully answered most of the questions, or at least touched upon the themes. I think in the interest of time, this is a good place to end this session. And any further questions and queries, we can always deal with them offline through other channels. I thank everyone who is here to really you have spent so much time with us on this, and I really thank you for being here and making this a success. I will hope to continue to work with you after this too.
Thank you.
Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you, Cornell team. Thank you, Dr. Yaj.
Thank you, Cornell team. Yeah.
Thank you for all the attendees to be here. If you have any more questions, you can always reach out to our admissions team as well as us through other channels. More than happy to answer.